I'm going to love this. This is about third parties and pushing back. And Dr. Jill Stein gave a firm pop smack to the face to the ladies of The View. Because for a long time, third parties have been viewed as spoilers. Third parties have been viewed as this great big threat. And here's the thing. Now more than ever, we're witnessing the media, especially corporate media, say that third parties are going to be that spoiler that's going to help, you guessed it, Donald Trump win the presidency, right? Good old Donald Trump, because, oh no, heaven forbid that people actually want to vote outside of the two-party system. I had a couple people reach out to me, say, hey, why are you supporting third parties? Like, or who are you going to vote for? And I said, I'm going to support third parties. And I explained why. And I've convinced a couple people, like, you know what? You make a good point. Can you tell me about some of these third-party candidates? And I did. See, that's the thing, spreading the word. Vote blue no matter who. I'm telling people to think for themselves, as they should, and as should all of you. And that's what I'm proud of, because we here at Hard Lens Media encourage all of you to break away from the two-party system. The Democrats don't own your vote, and you don't owe them a vote. The Republicans don't own your vote, and you don't owe them a vote. Vote however you feel like. And if you don't want to vote at all, well, then that's up to you too. That's perfectly fine. But let's all sit back and watch something entertaining, because Jill Stein gives a smack to The View. Don't tell that to Whoopi, though. Don't tell that to Whoopi, though. Let's play this.
Are you concerned with a third party? I am very concerned. I mean, I talk to Joy about it all the time. Stein's vote total exceeded Trump's margin of victory. So had she perhaps not been part of it, Hillary Clinton would have been president.
Hilldog would have been president. I don't care. And by the way, people of you and those who are still stuck watching it, what's it like living your lives in fear? Like, oh no, Trump's going to be president. I'm so glad that Tulsi Gabbard gave you guys a smack in the mouth, you know, on your show way back in 2020. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. But I'm also proud of the fact that people are supporting third parties en masse. And I'm going to be encouraging people to vote third party and independent, just to trigger liberals. And you know what, folks? You want to know another reason why you should? And you should be proud of it? Because you get to live rent-free in a liberal's head. You get to be their bad guy. You get to be their huckleberry. Trust me on it. It's a very liberating experience to be the anti-hero. It's great. Hard Lens Media approves.
Okay, we hear this all the time, so let's talk about it. First of all, it's not true. Polls show that the vast majority of people who voted green would not have voted at all if we weren't on the ballot. So basically, they're mad that we inspire people to get out and vote. Second, this whole idea that certain politicians are entitled to your vote is ridiculous. They don't own your vote, they have to earn your vote. If you let other people tell you how to vote, you give away your power to make politicians listen to you and represent you.
Yes, correct. And the thing is, so long as we remain subservient to the bullies, especially in 2020, when they told everybody, hey, you got to support Biden because if Trump's made president, women are going to lose the right to choose. There'll still be a border crisis and the kids will be in cages. We'll be stuck in forever wars. Our economy will fall apart. Our infrastructure will fall apart. Trains will derail. Planes will fall out of the sky. Oh my God, there'll be massive income inequality. Americans won't be able to own a house. Renters will struggle. Small business owners will struggle. And there'll be censorship. Censorship. Oh, wait. All that's happening under Democrat Joe Biden. Oh, see? The kids are still in cages. Ladies in The View, the kids are still in cages. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold up. Let's back up here for a second. We're stuck in forever wars. There's a genocide in Gaza. There's a ridiculous war in Ukraine that's going on that could turn into World War III, the sequel we all been waiting for, right? We have an economy that's falling apart. Americans are struggling day in, day out to make ends meet. So, yeah. Oh, and hey, you know, Democrats, you know, even before Trump was president, Obama had his super majority in the Senate and House, but he said it wasn't politically expedient at the time to codify Roe v. Wade. And Roe v. Wade died under Joe Biden. Remember when AOC got fake arrested? Petridge Farm remembers.
That's just how democracy works. And finally, they've been calling us spoilers since Ralph Nader's 2000 campaign, and that's also nonsense. But you know what? There's a solution to this supposed problem they're whining about. It's called ranked choice voting. We've been fighting for ranked choice voting for decades, but the politicians in power refuse to pass it because they don't want you to have a real choice. And that's one more reason they don't deserve your vote. The establishment smears outsiders like me, and it shames voters like you who just want better choices. But how is it democracy if the ruling parties rig the system to keep you from ever having a real choice? Without freedom of choice, there is no democracy. And by exercising your right to vote for a candidate of your choosing, you are making this a better democracy.
True. Absolutely true. Now, look, I want to pull up this article here. Trump and Biden should be terrified of the third-party vote, as they should indeed. Now, look, I got my criticisms for Cornel West. Of course, I think RBN has handled that way better than I have. Okay, shout out to RBN crew. I think they regulated and control the criticisms of Dr. Cornel West, and there are many. RFK, I got my criticism, and yes, even of Dr. Jill Stein, I got my criticisms too. But nonetheless, like anybody, they have a right to run for office, and I do support third parties and independents. And while I maybe had higher expectations for the third party vote, and my expectations are very high because I'm not going to lower the bar, we got what we got, and I do find it interesting the amount of attacks that corporate media is doing against third parties. It's no longer particularly far-fetched to think that Donald Trump's restoration is possible, perhaps even more likely than not, given President Joe Biden's dreadful polling numbers as of Monday. And this article, again, came out March 12th. March 12th. Those poll numbers already a fairly accurate snapshot of what's likely to happen in November. Get more predictive by the day and from here on out. But thus far, most analysis of the election has focused almost exclusively on the two widely disliked elderly men who are all but assured of claiming the Democratic and Republican nominations, which they have done already. It is over. It is over, folks. Trump and Biden are the nominees. Two old men fighting over a cold bowl of soup. In fact, a cold bowl of potato soup. How does that sound? Put more flavor into it, right? So there we go. Especially after the romps through Super Tuesday contest. A number of other candidates and parties are in the process of getting on November's ballot, and for the first time in almost 20 years, one of them is consistently polling in double digits. That's not to say of the independent organization No Labels, which is, I refuse to acknowledge No Labels, okay? Which is yet to identify a standard bearer after getting spurred on by Senator Joe Manchin and Larry Hogan, a former Republican governor of Maryland. No Labels announced on Friday that it would press forward with its presidential bid. A combination of historic unpopularity for the major party nominees, the presence of RFK Jr. polling well enough to get the televised debates, and unusually large slate of other third-party candidates could make this the wildest, most unpredictable presidential election in living memory. Now, this is not going to be the most important election cycle of our lifetime, but it'll be the most interesting and hopefully the most funny. And like I said before, folks, we here at Hard Lens Media will be covering the DNC convention here in Chicago. Stay tuned for more on that. That'll be August 19th through the 22nd. Yeah, we'll be covering it. Should be a crazy event, both at the United Center and at the McCormick Place. What the hell? In the 19 presidential elections held since the end of the Second World War, only two independent or third-party candidates have cracked double digits in the national popular vote. Texas businessman Ross Perot. Ross, man, look, the American people owe you an apology. When people made fun of you when you made that vacuum cleaner noise about NAFTA, you were right. We're sorry we laughed at you, man. You were right, dude. You were right. We're sorry. Oh, and hey, segregationist George Wallace in 1968. The folksy Ross Perot led his three-way 1992 race against incumbent Republican George H.W. Bush and Democrat Bill Clinton for a period of time before dropping out abruptly in July 1992. Perot's campaign manager, Edward Rollins, told the Washington Post at the time that the press, scrutiny, policy complexity, and campaign demands were too much for the mercurial Perot and that it was just no fun. Haunted by the possibility that he had betrayed his volunteers, Perot jumped back into the fray in September, but by then it was too late. He should not have done it, man. Perot just took under 19% of the vote, won 0 states, and is widely believed to have cost Bush re-election. Political scientists, however, never bought the story, and indeed, election modeling and mapping site Split Ticker dove deep into the data analysis last year and concluded that without Perot, Clinton would have won an even more decisive victory over Bush based on exit polls about voters' second preferences. The Perot lesson then is that strong third-party finishes on major party performance cannot be assumed before election day based on whom they seem like they would draw votes from. Other than Perot, it's been a century since a third-party candidate had a realistic chance at becoming president, and that won't change this year, but Kennedy's outsider campaign has to worry the Biden camp, as it should, because you know what? Liberals, you're telling people to vote Democrat, and I'm just tired of it. All this bullying. If you vote third party, you're helping Trump. Shut up. No one cares. For one thing, Kennedy's polling better than any third-party candidate in a generation, sitting at 15% in Real Clear Air Politics average of a 3-year race as of March 11th. Those numbers are almost certainly soft, but there's no getting around the enduring, and I would argue, unfathomable appeal of the Kennedy brand, and the fact that dissatisfaction with the two major party nominees is so broad that it seems as if you can throw any famous last name out there and hit double digits. The fact that Kennedy's super PAC, American Values 2024, spent $7 million on an ad during the Super Bowl suggests that the campaign intends to go all the way to November. And while I have my criticisms of RFK Jr., his campaign probably can make it to the end, but ballot access is key. And the only third party that is right now leading in having ballot access to all states, at least 48 right now. And I want to give a shout out again to my colleague, Larry Sharp, who hosts his show in New York City and is a libertarian. The libertarians have control of 48 ballots right now. They have ballot access in 48 states. They'll probably get to 50 very soon. And I think at this point they have their nominee. So libertarians got that locked in. They're the only third party that has met my standard of getting ballot access, and ballot access is freaking key here, folks. Someone should write that memo to Dr. Cornel West and Marianne Williamson. Oops. Did I hurt somebody's feelings? Probably I did. So I'll pull up this video here. Now, this video, shout out again to Case Study QB. This came out on March 12th, where RFK Jr. calls on Biden and Trump to debate him. And at this point, knowing the numbers, we could witness a three-person debate, possibly, maybe. Let's play it.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., witnessing a good deal of this, he gets back to the notion as an independent candidate for President of the United States that this is part of the problem. These guys, the two presidential candidates right now, repeat of the last rate, are the problem. Kind enough to join us. Robert, good to see you.
Good to see you again, Neil. Thanks for having me back.
Same here. Let me ask you a little bit about what you made of this back and forth on Robert Hur, and more particularly his issue. He didn't take a prosecutorial issue with the president because of his age, because of his memory problems, significant memory problems. What did you think of that?
Well, I haven't read the transcripts, but, the issues that he pointed out, that President Biden couldn't remember specific things that you would think he'd remember when he was vice president, under the dates when he was vice president under President Obama. Under President Obama, the date of his son's death and a number of other things are worrying. I think that it's important for President Biden to do what he did the other night, which is actually to come out in public, but more importantly, to have unscripted debates, unscripted encounters with voters, to engage in the debate, which Americans expect from a presidential candidate. And, to show this is a job, Neil, that requires a lot of nuance, of complexity of mind, of acuity, mental acuity, and we have a right to assurances that the person who's in charge of taking that phone call at 3:00 in the morning, when all of our children's lives are at stake, that they're going to make good judgments and the best decisions, and that they're going to be, they're going to be on their toes. So I think it's important for him to persuade the American public, to show the American public he can do that, particularly after these kind of questions have been officially raised, not only by the prosecutor, but also the mainstream media is now talking about some of these issues.
Yeah, whether he's too old for the job.
Now, it's been quite some time since the State of the Union. And let's be clear about the State of the Union. Joe Biden, our president, the sitting president of these United States. If you compare his speech to how he's speaking and talking to people now, it is night and day. So vote blue no matter who. I know you're living in your own reality. It's time for you to wake up, grow up and deal with the fact that your old dog, Joe Biden, your ace in the hole, Joe Biden, is somebody who is not mentally fit for the job. And look, this is where you got to get mean. This is where you got to get rough and angry. And you can't be like Dr. Cornel West, okay? So I have to add in my criticism where you call everyone your brother and sister. You got to expose just how incompetent Biden is. You got to show that the man is old. You got to say it and prove that you're the fighter. Now, I know Dr. Cornel West won't say that because once again deflect and call Trump a neo-fascist, whatever. Because I think that's absolute weak sauce right there. There's a lot of criticisms I have for Donald Trump, but let's face it, Joe Biden is the architect of the neoliberal nightmare. Okay, he's one of the many architects of the neoliberal nightmare, and there's nothing nice to say about Joe Biden, who was against busing and desegregation. There's nothing nice to say about Joe Biden, who wrote the crime bill. If anyone, look, Joe Biden is the guy who made things miserable for a lot of us. And that's something that RFK Jr. and Dr. Jill Stein and, yes, the libertarians are going to have to do. Because Marianne Williamson, Cenk Uygur, and Representative Dean Phillips, they're never going to criticize Biden. They're never going to say he's too old. They're never going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do it. They're going to tell everyone to vote blue in November. That's what they're all going to do, all three of them, okay? Same thing for everyone in corporate media. So to the third-party candidates, you got to be mean. You've got to show why you're better, and you also have to make an impact. That's the whole idea for third parties, and this is something that I will even hold the Greens and Libertarians accountable for. How much of a fight are you willing to put in, and how much heat are you willing to get? Because you got to expose why both Trump and Biden are not fit for the job, and the overall goal for third parties is to get recognition so you could fight in other elections. Otherwise, Misty Winston and Roger Meadows, time to batter up. Citizen action battle initiatives, citizen ballot initiatives, but battle initiatives. Start doing ranked choice voting, getting direct democracy, and actually us, the people, taking power, because that is truly our only option at this point, and turning every single state into a citizen ballot initiative state.
You had said, and a lot of people who like the president said that he brought his A game to a State of the Union address. You did not agree. You had said that it was a hyper-partisan speech. You're similarly not a huge fan of Donald Trump's, and it looks like those two guys are not keen on debating each other. It might happen, but it doesn't look like it will. What do you think of all of that?
Well, I think we're living at a time when the two least popular mainstream or mainstream party candidates in the history of our country are running. Both of them would actually win the prize for the least popular candidate in the history of a major political party. 80% of the public says that they don't want a rematch of 2016. They want other choices.
By the way, I did notice in the chat that people are saying that more trolls are impacting other independent content creators, especially when it comes down to talking about this election or other things. And I just want to say shout out to the moderators for keeping the peace. You guys and gals are doing a fantastic job. No matter what platform you're on, thank you for keeping the peace, because you guys and gals are awesome. So stand against these trolls, because, they're going to tell you, hey, you got to support Biden because Trump's bad. Keep on doing it. Mastermind Hour, Miguel H., Miss Witchy Perfect, good to see y'all. Good to see all of you. All of you people. All you people. Fred Edward, good to see you. Thank you for keeping the peace. And everybody else. Indy Left, I see you in there too. There you go. And of course, driving me Macy says, the hardest news on YouTube. That's right. We keep it hard here at Hard Lens Media.
And, now it's a three-man race as of today. I think both candidates will clinch their party's nomination in the three primaries that are being held today, and will be entering the general election. And I would hope that both of these candidates will debate, and we should start talking about the issues that concern Americans: the chronic disease epidemic, the destruction of our soils, the forever wars.
But you have to get in on that debate. You have to get in on that debate. As an independent candidate, you've gotten on a few more states now. Last time I checked, New Hampshire, Utah, Hawaii, Nevada, very close to Georgia. I could go on and look at South Carolina, Alabama. But you need to get on a lot more state ballots. And there's been talk that you're going to become a libertarian. They're interested in you. Any truth to that? That could get you on pretty much all of them.
We will be on all the state ballots, and we've now launched today. Actually, we're launching a push to get us on all the ballots that are open today. At this point, within 4 to 6 weeks, and as they open, we will have 4 to 6 weeks to get on each one, and we will make those deadlines.
All right. When you say you make those deadlines, then you would be more than a spoiler, right? If you're on all.
Now, see, again, the word spoiler, it should be the job of, and yes, well, I see in the chat, a lot of people are not a fan of RFK Jr., but this goes for the Libertarians. This goes for the Greens. This goes for RFK, and to an extent, Dr. Cornel West. Look, when you hear that word spoiler, you got to break that narrative. You got to slap back against it. As I played in the previous video, Dr. Jill Stein explains perfectly why the word spoiler is non-existent, okay? And here's the other thing, too. Dr. Jill Stein did not cost, no third-party candidate in 2016 cost Hillary Clinton the election. What cost Hillary Clinton the election is because she was a piss-poor candidate. Nobody liked her. Nobody respected her. And never forget what happened in Philly. Never forget that.
All the state ballots, you have a real crack at it, and more than just getting a spoiler role. But the traditional wisdom is you hurt President Biden more than you hurt Donald Trump. What do you say?
I mean, my intention is to hurt both of them. Right now, I'm beating both candidates in independent voters, and independents are the biggest part. This is the first election in history, Neil, where independents are the biggest voting bloc. So independents now represent 43% of American voters, self-identified independents. Republicans are only 27, Democrats are only 27, and I'm beating both candidates in independents. I'm also beating them by really dramatic margins, by 40%. Among Americans who are under 35 in the battleground states, I'm beating them among Americans under 45. So I'm tied in a three-way tie for Hispanic votes, and that vote is increasing for me. I'm really winning in all of the major demographics, except with one exception, which is baby boomers. And we believe that we're going to start making inroads with them soon. So I think we have a very good chance of winning in November.
That might be so. I haven't seen some of these polls that show you competitive in that regard with these other two gentlemen. That could change. And again, the more awareness you get, you've obviously raised significant awareness, certainly more than people like Jill Stein and Cornel West making their own third-party runs for the White House. I am curious, when you talked about the President's State of the Union, you had a different vision for.
I want to stop here. And I just want to end this segment with these words. First of all, it is imperative for the next wave of third-party candidates and independents to start fighting also for local and state elections and to start building the infrastructure. My disappointment with third parties, and again, I have promoted third parties, I've interviewed third-party candidates when they're running for office, no matter what level of office they're running for, and also, more importantly, when they are kicked off the ballot, which is wrong. And surprise, surprise, it's a bipartisan effort of both Democrats and Republicans doing that. It is important for third parties to really get their message out there. And my anger, especially towards the Greens specifically, after 2016, I remember covering a lot of events for them. And the venues were large at first, and then they kept on getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then really pathetic, and hardly no one was showing up. The thing is, you have to keep on maintaining enthusiasm and action and engagement with people that want to break away from the two-party system. And with Trump versus Biden again, this is fertile ground for third parties to really make an impact. This is fertile ground for third parties to drag in new people that can lead new organizations. And we've seen the power of third-party candidates. They can make an impact. I think the best example was what happened with Jesse Ventura when he ran for governor in Minnesota. As soon as he got on the debate stage with the Republican and Democratic candidate that were running for office at that time, he was able to effectively destroy them because the American people want something different. Now, I'm all for Roger Meadows' theory of, more importantly, abolishing all political parties through ballot initiatives, battle initiatives, to abolish all political parties. And I think that's something we should strive for. But my message to third parties and those that are part of the group, you have to be innovative. You have to have engagement, and you have to be willing to take the risk of being made the bad guy. Sometimes it's okay to be the heel. If I have to use wrestling analogy here, sometimes getting that white heat is the best thing you can get, because let's look at who your opponents are. People are still brainwashed into voting Democrat and Republican, but 50% of the U.S. population, and that number will rise up, identify as independent or either that don't want to engage in electoral politics at all. And this is where citizen ballot initiatives come into play. This is where local elections come into play, because we have to start building from the ground up. The neoliberal system can't hold, and yet we see, for the first time ever, third parties are getting the spotlight. Now, my own personal bias, I think they could have done a lot more to really get their word out there. The Libertarians have successfully got on 48 ballots, which is an incredible feat to do, even in my state, Illinois, which is not an easy task to do. You have to have that hunger to fight. You have to be the heel. You have to fight back against the fact that you have Trump and Biden, and no one's excited for that. In order to make an impact, you have to fight the system, and that means embracing the anti-hero role. And for those people who want to vote independent or third party, I'm going to vote third party and independent, and I do so because I've done that in previous elections, and plus I want to live rent-free in the vote blue no matter who's people's minds, because sometimes just knowing the fact that they're not going to change my mind because I believe in consistency should inspire all of you to cross that Rubicon yourself and inspire others. Watch how desperate to vote blue no matter who people are going to get. They're going to tell you that you're a bad person. They're going to tell you how dare you vote third party. And what you should say to them is this: yeah, I voted third party, and I'll do it again. As you should.